Hey guys, what's going on? So recently, while building my VESC, I had a burnt DRV. So that's my DRV chip right here. You can see it's burnt in a couple of places. I don't know the cause of the burn. I think it's because of leftover flux, even though I tried to clean it. So what I'm going to do is remove this DRV today and replace it with a new one. And we're going to learn how to take care of solder bridges, because I think there might have been one or two solder bridges. And so let's go ahead and remove this DRV chip. And the first thing you would obviously want to do is secure the chip properly under your microscope. I mean, you don't necessarily need a microscope for this DRV. It's quite big, but I prefer to use it so that I could see if there is any tiny bit of solder between the joints that we need to remove. So let's go ahead and fix this board. So we're going to want to secure these other components with some Kapton tape. Alright, that looks well secured, and it's not going anywhere. We're ready to work on our chip now. And so first thing we want to do is remove the chip, and I've got my hot air soldering station here, and I'm going to turn it on. What I'd usually do is preheat the components at like 100 Celsius or something. And then I'm going to turn up the heat now to about 300 degrees Celsius. I'm going to grab my tweezers, turn up the airflow, and we're just going to take the chip off. Just going to look closely and see when this solder starts melting here. It's still solid, so we're going to move around in circles. Okay, it's moving now. Make sure you remove it slowly and take the heat away. Alright, that's our chip. You can see it's pretty busted. This is the ground pad that you need to attach to the ground pad here, and all the pins are not in very good shape. There's a couple of shorts I can see, so we'll get this crappy chip out of the way. And now our task is to clean the board. You can see it's really well, it's not really bad, but it's bad nevertheless. The important thing to look for is that these vias aren't lifted or anything, because if they are, then you got to repair them, or you have to get a new PCB board, which is a pain. Let's go ahead and start cleaning this thing. Now there's two ways you could clean this. You could use a soldering iron, or you could use your hot reflow gun. And we're going to use my TS100 here. I'm going to heat it up to about 300 or 300 should be fine. I think anything hotter than that could lift these vias, and we don't want to do that. So first thing we're going to do is put on a lot of flux, and once we do that, we can go ahead and start cleaning. We'll start from the ground pad. You can see almost immediately it starts conducting, and there's this gunky solder from the past coming off. I can definitely smell all this gooey solder. See how the wick is turning silver, it's sucking up all the gunky solder. Okay, you can see it's getting pretty clean now, especially these last few bits and blobs. They really get to your nerves, but I think this is clean enough. Really think this is good. Now we're gonna do the same to the pins. Alright, now that we've got the chip off, we've got a lot of spent flux here that I'm just going to clean with some isopropyl alcohol. And since this is not like the normal kind of flux, this is the no clean flux, it's not meant to be cleaned, so it's kind of hard to come off. So just make sure you don't apply too much pressure, and it's good to apply the strokes in the direction of the pads. You don't want to create a lot of friction and lift those pads off. You can see the flux is already coming off. Turn the airflow to the maximum and just blow off the spent alcohol, and it should be really quick to evaporate. You can see it already evaporating. It's a good thing about alcohol compared to water. So I've got this flux paste that's used for SMD, and it's brand new. I've also got a couple of different sizes of syringes in here. So let's go ahead, apply it first on our ground pad. You don't want to get too much of this stuff, just a little bit. That should be enough. Open up our brand new DRV. Yeah, this is the right way to orient it. You can see the circle is matching up, and let's just drop it in there. Okay, that's not bad for a first drop. Now all we have to do is align it so that all the pins line up properly. Actually, these pins are all lined up quite perfectly. Yeah, that's good. Let's get to our reflow iron once again. Turn the heat to like a medium, because you don't want to blow the chip off. Turn the heat to like 150 or about 180, and then just heat the DRV for a little bit. Still heating up, but I can see the solder paste is just about to activate. Yeah, you can see the solder melting now. Yeah, this side is done almost, and this side should be done pretty quick. You should see the solder activate right now. As you see, there's a lot of solder bridges, and I purposely left little blobs on the board on one side so you can see how to remove the solder bridges. Now, first thing you want to do is again take a little bit of flux, preferably non-corrosive and not shorting. And once you have that, this could be really simple or really difficult depending on how you do it, but just take your soldering iron and look, there's a short here. So I'll start with the first pin and just gently move it from the top of the pin to the bottom of the pin. These are not moving, so what you can do is you can drag these along to the other pins, and then you can try to remove the bridges by just tapping it away gently from the pins. And again, if you think there's too much solder, you know what to do. Just take your soldering wick, and it should take on some of that flux. I think now we just have the perfect amount of flux on here. So I'm gonna remove this bridge here, just like that. It's a couple here, easy, simple. Just about 1 second for each. Tap and go. These two bridges, they're supposed to be like that, as we've seen, so that's okay. Okay, now this side, we just got one blob here, and then everything else is just unsoldered, sort of. So we're just gonna move the solder over slowly. Don't put too much pressure, just move it slowly. Move it to all the other pins. Once you do, you can again just tap and make sure all the pins heat up properly and they're all connected. I think there isn't enough flux on these ones, so I'm just going to apply a tiny bit of flux. Have successfully applied solder to each and every pin on both sides apparently. Let's pull back. So I'm just going to gently clean my DRV, and since this is a no clean flux, I'm not going to apply any alcohol or anything. I think you can, but you really don't need to. And that's about it, guys. That's how you solder a DRV with your hot airflow gun and a soldering iron and some tools. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, learned something from it, and I'll go ahead and try not to fry this DRV. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for liking the video. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. Keep fungineering and stay safe.